Okay.
Now, here we are, 926 Hawthorne. This is 78 years ago. 78 years ago, I made my entrance to the world. Residence here, 926 Hawthorne, and it has the same appearance today as I knew it. Up to around 3 or 4 years of age. You know, visually I remember that. I know the place, and I was all around this area, and it hasn't changed a bit. It's well taken care of. This wall is exactly the same as it was, as I remembered as a child. In fact, even born here, and then all the time that we spent around here, I was 6 or 7 years old when I went down to make my first communion. And none of this has changed. It's always the same. The face of that building is the same. And even some of the houses to my right down here, or to the left as I face it, and it all has a wonderful appearance. I don't think there was electricity in the house then. The buildings, even the one to our left, to see the facade at the top, how that is, and even to the building to your left over there, the one with the peak and has some sort of an emblem up there. And as you pan down the street here, you see the other structures over across the street.
Okay.
And my background over my right shoulder is Holy Family Church. That's where they had brought me from our home up the street here, down here, and I was baptized here. All these events took place 78 years ago. Now right across the street, you'll notice is the residence of the Sisters for Holy Family School. And that wasn't here then. The Sisters' residence was down in the back. But this is a newer addition. I don't know what years it was that residence had come in. But the old church was over on Price Avenue. We'll see that a little later with the school. But this is the place, and I'll show you as we walk down the street, the residence on the corner. Really a nice looking edifice. You know, the story behind this is that the war broke out. Started in 1914. And the windows for this church, the leaded windows, were coming from Europe, so they were put off for quite a few years before they got the proper windows in this church. Beautiful belfries, and they have their own bells. And I don't know if that's Romanesque architecture or not. But yeah, Father Runenbaum was the pastor.
Yep, and across the street there?
And across the street is the residence of Dr. O'Donnell, the one who lives in this home. Maybe 1905 or 10 or something like that, but they were well-built structures. And then that's the way the migration came from down in the West End, up the incline and out Price Hill. They came up either Warsaw Avenue or Elburn Avenue. The development of Coaldale and that came in later years. But this is the beginning of the Price Hill era. We're standing in front of Holy Family School on Price Avenue.
Let's try it again because that noise.
We're standing in front of...
Just wait till I give you a signal.
We're standing in front of Holy Family School on Price Avenue, and this school was built shortly before the turn of the century, or after 1904 or 5. I don't know exactly. I've been looking for a cornerstone with the date on it, but this is a school that I attended in September 1919, And by the grace of the Lord and the good sisters, they let me attend school here to relieve my mother during the time that she was taking care of my father, who was seriously ill, and he followed up by expiring in March of 1920. And I've been looking around to see if there's any sort of a mark on it where it was built. But right there on that spot of that new building, it was built after I left here, was where the old Holy Family Church used to be. On there, I'm sure that was there. That building was there. And the one on the extreme end down there was the little facade on the top, looked like a Midwestern, or a little western town. That's where Seavey's Saloon was. Now, Leroy Seavey was a boy in the grave with me, and his father run a saloon there. And every guy in the neighborhood visited that saloon. And I can't recall whether there was some groceries next to it or something like that. But there, they've been there, I know, for 70. They must be there damn near 100 years. Over my left shoulder, the residence back there, 2717 Price Avenue, is the home we were living in when my father died. And we had the area on the first and second floor. That was our whole side of the house. The bottom side was like a basement area, and at that time it was a lattice work. It was a real fine lattice. Maybe there were 1-inch strips with a 1-inch space between them, and I remember that very well. Of course, I was 6, and there's a lot of things I can remember at that time, and I can just picture now when they carried my dad's coffin out. They had to carry it out and hold it upright to bring it down the steps that came down. Each apartment or each home on the side of that joined one set of steps that came down to the street. And that was a sad event in March 1920. And the area, it seems like the homes that they lived into, if they were brick, they always had that red color on them. I remember the color and the trim was usually white or either cream. So nothing has changed over the years. And we didn't have the fire escapes in front of the building then because they probably didn't have any real enforcement then. To it was Mr. Wired's Grocery. Right now you see an entrance with a brick facade on it. It didn't have that updated brick facade. It was red brick, white. And there's the entrance there that they didn't have the grill work on there at the time. There's probably no need for it. A lot of people were probably running a book in there where they've said, we'll pay you at the end of the month when we get a few dollars, and they carry those little books in there. But a lot of this has changed. Even the one over in the corner, that building over there, is the same structure and design as it had then. It's never changed except for the entrances there where it looks like they were probably trying to redecorate the front with chipping off the paint off the brick. But the neighborhood hasn't changed that much, right? Fixed up, beautiful, all new siding, but you can tell the foundation walls are the same as they were many, many years ago. Get a picture of that open lot there. You could look out over the city. So that's where they started. They came up right there. That's West 8th Street running out there.
Boy.
Now that's, I forget what they call it. Standing at the top of the old incline site, and we're overlooking the city down towards West 8th Street, and I started to tell Mike that even as small as I was, I recall riding this incline because they had a passenger type incline, 2 little cars. They were dark red or maroon red that go up and down for the people. They just had wooden seats in it. And on the left was a freight incline. It was almost similar to the Mount Adams incline, where they had taken dump wagons up there back and forth, and construction materials went up and down the incline. It was really something. I was very impressed with that, but that's the way we went from here down to 8th and State to get on streetcars to go into town. I guess the right-of-way still runs down through there. I don't think they ever, but there's no semblance of the structure and the rails that carry the incline. The Price Hill Incline, and I just noticed on the plaque here that it was built in 1874, and that is the year my mother was born. Your grandmother was born in 1874, and it operated until 1943. 8th Street on the right side. We had in the beginning we had the first and the second floor. Then later on, Mrs. Osmore had taken over the second floor, and we stayed on the third floor. See, we moved in there in 1928 when we had the whole house, and we've in there. I lived in there until 1938, one year I got married. 1928 to 1938. No hedges in front of it. It was a big place. Striker Wrist, the man that lived down on the corner in a little Spanish bungalow, owned the house. That building, 810 Woodlawn Avenue, which has the white siding on now, was green. And it was a residence we were living in, I think, in 1917 and 1918. And from here we moved over to Price Avenue, where it was a final place for moving before we ever left Price Hill. And the buildings to the right of that is Mike Sweet. It was not here. They've been built since that time, and that was nothing but a large lot. And it was there, two guys around age. I was 5, and Mike was a little better than 6.5. Or Denny was crying out loud, and Bob was 6 plus. We were playing in a lot on this area right here, and we were making our own little ball diamonds. And we were taking a rock and putting it in the ground, and I don't know where we got the. I had a hatchet, and Bob was using the hatchet, and I had no scoop but my hands, and I was scooping the dirt while he was digging with the hatchet, and I got a scar to show for it today where he hit me across the hand with a hatchet. Right across here, the scars go across there. It was a little hand, but it was cut there, and then now that's the residence that your mother's father was buried from. He was ailing pretty bad, and in 1929, June 11th, he expired, and that was, the burial was from that house. Wrought iron fence. Loudon and Paradrome, that's the residence that Agnes, or your mother, lived in while I was going with her. I forget the days, because they moved from this residence right down the street on Paradrome, and that's the home from which we were married, from that home. That's the way that was, and they knew how to accentuate it, didn't they? 960 Paradrome. That's the street that the residence that Mother lived in for a good while before we were married. They moved down here, and her mother stayed there after we were married for a few years with Roger and that, but it was a nice home. They lived on the first floor and had a fairly nice little backyard, and it's a real good residence, and they were, the Isle of Estate had most of them. Everything like that. Brick home, 1115 with an old facade on it. Famous bridge is upon which I was looking down on the roadway, and there was three nice young ladies walking up here, and a young lady in the middle was taller, I think, or maybe the same height as one. There was a smaller woman, and bright, sunny, cold day in January 1931, and that's where I first got an opportunity to see your grandmother. And after they passed by, Mother to this day says they thought they were going to spit on me, and they ran a little bit and got under there. So I went down the steps on the other side and just trailed her and met her at the far end of the drive out there, and that's where I struck up an acquaintance. Same, it had those little things built in there on the second floor, like a diamond shape.
1625 Fairfax Avenue. Not there anymore.
Mrs. Wolf's residence right there.